record button here, and I'm just going to let more people flow in, let them come in, and then we can start this off in like a minute or two. Actually, nah, it's literally 12:32. I'm going to start the session now. So basically the 4 stages of wealth, right? The first stage is kind of relatable to what we will call stability in this example, right? Stability is kind of phase 1. Okay, I'm going to make this a different color. Let's put it out into blue, and then add some more text down here in white that we can use for our markers underneath stability, right? So what does stability mean to you guys? Like, what is financial stability in your guys' eyes? In the chat, what do you guys see as that? Anyone in the chat, what is financial stability? Come on, I know someone's listening. All right, someone's typing. Let's go, guys. Come on, we have to wake up. It's a public holiday for where I live right now, but that doesn't stop me. No bothering about money. You have no worries. Okay. So I'm gonna simplify that into saying that it is actually just no debt, right? So financial stability could be seen as just not having any debt, right? You're at the point of your life where you are stable enough to kind of make purchases, but not have to worry about being in debt. Like, you've paid off your student loans, your mortgage is under control if you have bought a house, or you're renting something and you just don't have any debt. We're going to kind of move on to like that type of setting. Like, that is stage 1, is stability, finding that level in which you don't actually have to be living in negatives, right? You don't have to be spending too much on your credit card every week, or you don't have to be doing certain things every month where you're putting yourself into debt that you then have to pay off, because it just makes no sense, right? Financial stability means that you have no worries, like you guys said. Excuse me if I do sound a bit grimy. I am a little bit sick. Just recovering from that. So the second thing under debt, right? So what we're gonna then mark off right after that under debt is we're gonna add in the second thing in phase 1, which will be bills are paid. Right. That means that whatever you owe people, whatever you kind of need to pay off, if it's like a student loan or if it's like a mortgage, like you have it under control. You're at a point where you no longer worry about it. You're kind of just like, okay, cool, that's what I need to pay every month to this. This is what I need to pay every month to that. But it's not a struggle, right? Like, these are the things, like in order, these are the things that you need to be able to get under control first in your life. Like, if you're in debt and you are going out every week buying expensive shit or partying every week, it's just fucking pointless, because you're just going to be spending money that you should just be allowing yourself to pay back and then be free. Because I mean, think about it. Like, you could be partying every week, or you could just buckle down for like a year or two, get your shit together, and then pay everything off that you need to pay off, right? Like, pay your bills. Like, everything is due. So get your shit together. You know what I mean? And if you're in phase 1, like if you're currently living in phase 1 and you're currently living in debt where you just cannot afford shit, but then you buy expensive, unnecessary things, you got to buckle down on that, because at the end of the day, it's just not beneficial to you to actually live a lifestyle that you can't actually afford, just because other people look at you and they're like, oh my goodness, he's doing so good. Oh my goodness, he has this. Oh my goodness, this person has that. It's like, who cares, dude? The people that do care don't matter. Like, guarantee you. The people that care about what you have just don't fucking matter. Just get your shit together. No one needs to know how much you make. No one needs to know what you have. You shouldn't be buying shit just for other people to see, oh shit, he's doing good now. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I promise you, it doesn't matter, right? The last thing here is actually quite important, which is savings are funded. Right. So what I mean by that, with savings are funded, by the way, I will make a PDF of this. I'll type all of this out into a PDF and make it look cool, and I'll print it out for you guys. But savings are funded over there, right? So what does that mean? Essentially, what we mean by savings are funded is that you are living a life where you are able to kind of put money aside every month for your future, for your kids or for your grandkids or for anything else that you might need for your retirement maybe. and you're kind of living a life where your bills are paid, you are busy paying off like your mortgage and whatnot, you have no debt, and your savings are funded. Like the only thing that you need to realize with this is that this level, like level one, like stage one, is the most difficult level to get to. For most people, some people will probably get there in their 40s, maybe their 50s. But once you reach this level, it's kind of like the next two or three after that are just easy. You breeze through them. But once you have stability under control, like stage one, once you have it buckled down, you're able to kind of move away from the nonsense of life and actually just go forward in what you need to get done. It's kind of like a snowball effect. Once you hit one, two becomes easier. Once you hit three becomes easier. Once you hit three, four becomes easier, right? And essentially, it's important to know because a lot of people out there in the world are just literally, um, how do we say this? Like living a life of luxury when they don't need to, right? An important question that I was talking to some friends yesterday, and a question we asked each other, or a question that came up was, would you rather live a midlife, like you're living like a normal ass life, right? Like absolutely normal, okay? But mentally you're doing amazing. Like you get out of bed happy, you work the job you want, you have a happy family, like you are happy as a person, but your life is like okay, it's like normal, right? There's nothing extravagant about it. Okay, or would you rather be a great person, like you're helping other people, you're making a change in the world, you're doing everything that you can do to be good to everyone around you, but mentally you're doing shit inside your own head? Like which one would you rather be? Out of interest, one or two, in the chat real quick. Would you rather have an okay life and would you rather have an okay life and you mentally you're like living it, you're happy, you're at the peak of your mental stability? But number two is you living the greatest life ever, but mentally you're feeling like shit. Like getting up out of bed's a struggle. Okay, everyone says one. Everyone says one. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Out of interest, everyone that said one, do you have kids? Yes. No. Yes. Okay. So majority of you guys do. No. It's interesting because the reason why that question came up with my friend group, I think it was yesterday, was because the next question that we asked was, do you guys want kids? And then the people that said they wanted to live a great life and help other people, but mentally they are okay. A lot of them wanted kids. They wanted kids, and then it matched up because it's like mentally they can struggle, but then they will also do everything in their power to help other people. And then those people also then wanted kids, so it made sense that like they would try and help their kids to the best of their ability to be the greatest that they can. But yeah, it's just something to think about. Um, anyways, moving on to number two. Stage two, strategy. Right. So once you've accomplished stage one, right? I'm just going to copy this over. Once you've accomplished stage one, right? You kind of have no debt. Your bills are paid. Your savings are funded. Everything's chilling, right? Your money is now at a point where you can start actually saving more, or in this sense, you can start taking the money that you have to work for you, right? How do you make money work for you? Okay, someone in the chat, just one option. How do you make money work for you? In America, it's clear. In America, they have a much better system at how you can make money work for you. It's like investing. Okay, you guys are on the same buzz. Investing, right? So now the thing is, number one is make money work for you, right? So now, how do you make money work for you, right? So what do you do? So there's a couple things that you can actually do with this. I'm just gonna drag this off over here, and we're gonna say you can invest in stocks, or I'm gonna say crypto. You can invest your money into stocks and crypto. That's one of the ways that you make money work for you, right? Because the money will grow over time. Okay. Your money will eventually then you put like $1,000 in, and in about 3, 4, 5 years time, you get like what 10, 12% on that return. Actually, no, wait, five years time, you should probably get like 10 to 20% return maybe. If you're in crypto, it'll be a bit more. But essentially, that's one way that you can do it, is you can invest your money into the stock market or into the crypto market for long-term investments, right? So, for example, what would I do, right? So, let's say I get a salary, and I'll say, okay, cool. Or let's say I'm trading, right? And I make money. I'm like, okay, cool. I got my income sorted. Now I have some extra money. What do I do with the extra money? I buy long-term positions in crypto, right? But I won't just buy a long-term position at a random point, right? I'll load up my USDT wallet with a whole bunch of money over time, and then once it becomes a good time to start deploying money, I'll start taking small positions, right? When I say small positions, I'll say, like, let's say if I have $1,000 to invest into Bitcoin, right? I'll invest $100 at a time, right? So let's say Bitcoin's at 20,000, I'll invest $100. If it drops to 15,000, I'll invest another $100. If it goes back up to 18,000, I'll invest another $100. Like, I'll DCA into the account, so it more or less puts me in at around like $16,000, and then I hold that position. Right, that position's now locked in. I hold it for long term. When I say long term, I mean 5 to 10 to 15 years, right? So now all we have to do then is take that position, right? And let's say we make more money, right? Let's say we have the next 3 months and we have loaded up some more money. We have another $500 to invest, right? Let's say Bitcoin drops again. I'll load up another 100. Like, I'll keep just loading up more positions at different points if it keeps coming lower down. And then essentially once the bull run hits, or even the next 3 or 4 bull runs, because the position's being held for 5 to 10 years, it'll then basically skyrocket the entire portfolio, right? So let's say you had $100. Let's say you had $1,000 that you invested as a DCA, then you had another 500. So you invest like about $1,500 in 5 to 10 years, right? Let's actually work it out. I'll actually go to the Bitcoin chart. Let's go to Bitcoin. Let's go to the 12 months. Let's work it out. Let's say, whoops, drawing a whole bunch of lines at here. Let's see here. 2018, 19, 20, 21, 23. Okay, so let's say you bought in 2018. Right, let's say you bought in 2018 and you bought, let's just say you bought it at like what, 4,000. That's like more or less in the middle. It's about $4,000 or $5,000, right? Let's say you bought Bitcoin at $4,000 or $5,000, right? And you ride it up for 5 years, right? At the peak, it would have been 1,259% up, okay? But if you kept holding it until now, you would still be up 471%. So let's say you put in $1,500. Obviously, it'll be a lot more than that you'll probably be investing over the years, but you'll be up times it by 4. Actually, yeah, times it by 4. So you'll be up to about $6,000, right? If you hold it up all the way to the top, it would be times by 12. So it'll probably be around like $15,000, $16,000. So the thing is, like, once you start investing, you start realizing that money, the buying power of money is important, right? So for example, if you think about 2018, right, don't just think about the percentage gain. Okay, don't just think about that. Think about it like this: in 2018, how much buying power did the dollar have? Right, it had a lot less buying power than what it had a lot more buying power than what it does now. Right, so you could buy more with a dollar back then than what you can now. So essentially, you're not just investing and making money, but you're investing and you're taking out value, right? So what we call this is an asset, right? So you're trading, or you're putting your money into an asset. Okay, that's the important thing to understand out of what I'm trying to say here. Right, let me go back to the S&P 500. That's the important thing to understand here, is because, oh, I messed up this drawing. That's fine. That's the important thing to understand, because other types of assets can also be what we call real estate, right? So for example, how do you get into real estate? It's actually quite simple. All you have to do is take a loan in the bank. If you don't even have to, but you can take a loan in the bank. Wait. Let me draw it up a little bit simple. Let's say you want to buy a house for $100,000. Let's just make up an even number. You want to buy a house for $100,000. Okay. Now you've saved up enough money to buy this house for $100,000 in cash. Okay. That's important to understand, in cash. Okay. Now, what do? You don't go and buy that house clean in cash. Okay, no, that's not the way to really do it. What you'll then do is you'll go to the bank. Okay, you'll go to the bank and you'll take out a loan to put a down payment on both of those apartments. So you're looking to buy two apartments basically. You have $100,000. One of them costs $100,000. You then take a loan out by the bank to pay off the initial deposit on two of those places, and then you pay it off. Then basically, all you have to do then is put people into those apartments, and then they'll stop paying itself. Okay, more or less, they'll stop paying itself. You might have to pay like an extra $100 to $200 on top of that, but basically, essentially what happens is at the end of the day, you're stuck with two apartments instead of one. Right, so I'm gonna break that down again. I think I did say that a little bit confusingly, but you have $100,000. One apartment is $100,000, and you have the money in cash. You don't go and buy the one apartment. You go to the bank and take out a loan so you can put a down payment on two apartments, and then you pay the bank back with 100,000. Right, so you get R100,000 loan or $100,000 loan from the bank. You then go in and you say, "Cool, put two down payments down." And then you have the extra 100,000 that you can use to fund it. And then what you essentially do then is you go and find tenants to live in those places. And then boom, you start renting it out to the tenants. And then essentially what will happen is you'll start to make that money back. The mortgage will basically start to pay itself off under the circumstance that you actually do get it in a decent place and you can actually rent it out for a good price. You might have to pay a little bit more, but essentially what happens is once the mortgage is paid, and let's say you do this in your 40s, right? Once the mortgage is paid, you should be about 60 or 50 once the mortgage gets paid, right? Then essentially when you turn 60, you can then sell those two apartments back into the market. But because of the growth of the assets and the real estate in the world right now, you'll get back more value than what you paid for. So let's say you bought two apartments for $100,000 each. When you sell that 20 years later, it'll probably sell for like $200,000, $300,000. It'll go up significantly, even more, like probably $400,000, $500,000, because it's not seen as just an apartment. It's not just seen as real estate. It's seen as an asset, right? Everyone needs a house. If you own two houses and at one stage you decide to sell it, like 20 years later, then at the end of the day, you're making a ton more money on top of that initial investment. You're getting way more in return because the ROI, rate of investment, or rate of interest on real estate is actually just ridiculous. Especially if you're like trying to hold it for like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You could even take that and then give it to your kids, and then they can keep it and sell it at a later stage if they wanted to. But essentially, the money will just keep increasing over time, right? So that's number 2 is investing, right? Number 3, I'm going to go through this quite quickly because after the stream, I just want to take you guys through a market breakdown for the week. I reckon, what do you say? I reckon that'll change in the next 10 years, bro. What will change? Real estate, like what about it will change? It'll drop. You think it'll drop? Why? Invite to speak. I'll invite you to speak. Let's go. You are on stage. Let me just really check that my Discord is.
Hi, Harley. Hi, everyone.
Yo, what's
And
up, bro?
I heard a recent conversation. I can't remember where or how, but the idea is that all these office places, all real estate that's like office works, like, yeah. Apparently, the idea what it is, obviously that already dropped since COVID. Everyone works from home, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is that at some point, at least in Europe, in UK especially, that's what I heard the most. Technically, what they're gonna do eventually, all these big corporations that acquired all these places, big office places, whatever, yeah, they eventually losing money even now, and they will continue losing until at some point I heard that these places will be eventually turned into houses for people to sort the housing crisis, especially here in the UK. And I
Okay.
presume in a lot, well, the next 10 years, that's why I said, like, which makes sense to me, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, so that's in the UK, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So look, everyone from the UK. Okay. So this goes out to you guys, because in my country, as it is now, real estate's still a great thing to invest in. I don't think we're not going to have that problem. But in the UK, so what a great thing that you can do then is to find other assets, right? Like what other assets can you get a hold of to replace real estate if you can't invest in real estate? Like you could just put more money into the stock and crypto markets, or you could find a replacement for that. Um, Obviously, keep it like do your research on it before you buy it. Like, thank you for letting me know, just so all the guys in the UK can then now obviously understand that. And if the recording goes up onto YouTube, then everyone from the UK can understand that as well. But thank you, brother.
No problem. No, it's just something that I heard like very recently. That's why, and it kind of makes sense to me, to be honest. Considering obviously inflation now, no one's buying anything now, and okay, yes, some firms push people back into the office for now, but anything can happen. Like another scenario, COVID scenario, and everything is gonna go to like you know
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just a thing to think about and like take in perspective in the long term kind of thing.
yeah, 100%. I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. Thank you for letting me know, and thank you,
Anyway, have a
everyone,
good
for
one,
knowing.
guys, and nice to see you back, Harley.
Yeah, yeah, bro. Thank you, thank you. Um, what I'm actually gonna do is move you back to the audience real quick, and then cool. Let's keep going. Thank you very much, though, for letting me know on that. Because I had no idea that was a problem in the UK. Okay, so moving on to stage 3, right? So you have security, right? It's financially secure. Like, what does that mean, essentially? So in this example, what we're going to use here as kind of securities, I think we have 4 things here. Let me just look at my notes. We have 3 things actually. So it's basically you enjoy your money, right? So like for example, the gap between 1 and 2, like the time span between 1 and 2, the financial stability versus the strategy, this is kind of like the gap between here and here is like probably a year, maybe 6 months. Like this, like the gap between paying everything off and then actually having money versus forming a strategy to then make that money work for you, that can take about 6 months. Right? Realistically, it should take about 6 months, maybe a year. Right? It shouldn't take you more than that to realize that your money needs to start working for you. Right? But the gap between security and, the gap between strategy and security could be 2 years or 5 years or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 years. It doesn't really matter. But what I'm trying to say here is the gap between make money work for you and investing versus security, which is like enjoying your money, depends on what you invested in, right? So at this stage in your financial journey, right, you should be at a point where you're starting to look to take off some of your investments, right? So like for example, you've made gains on your investment and crypto portfolio, you've made gains on your real estate or other assets, and you're looking to sell those off and start living your retirement, for example. That's where security like comes in. It's like you're busy enjoying your money, you're eating good food. What do I mean by that? It's what I mean is like healthy whole foods. You're not buying like takeaway cheap foods. You're basically enjoying what you want to enjoy in kind of in life, but you're not overspending, if you know what I mean. You're financially secure. You're spending the exact amount of money that you should be, and you're living the life that you want to live, kind of for the absolute most peace of mind. And the third thing in here is going to be labeled as traveling, but it could be traveling or just enjoying life. Some people are like, I know some people, some of my friends, they love traveling. They love going to different countries and seeing how it is there. For other people, it might just be enjoying life, right? So for me, for example, I might not enjoy traveling as much as other people, but I could enjoy a good camping. Like I could go camping with some friends, and that I'll enjoy that a lot, right? So instead of traveling, I could just say, cool, camping, or I might even go to another country and camp there. You know what I mean? But just enjoying life is important. You don't want to be like in a place where you're financially secure, but you're just not living it. You know what I mean? Um, and I'd like do this one quick thing that I want to make clear here. In the security part here, nothing here was said about like buying an expensive car, living in a mansion. I didn't mention any of that in any of these things, right? Because it's not a necessity to life, right? That is not something that I see as something that's very important to life. It's a luxury. You know what I mean? You don't have to have a fast car. You don't have to have a sports car. You don't have to have um, expensive jewelry. Like it's somewhat pointless. It's not pointless to other people. To me, I don't really care about having a Rolex on my wrist. Um, to other people, they might see a Rolex as an investment because a Rolex kind of is. Like if you go out and buy a $50,000 Rolex, it's an investment to most people. As long as you keep it safe and you look after it, it's an investment, right? You can sell that off at a later stage and make back the money that you paid for it. You know what I mean? So that's going to take me on to the next step of stage 4. Right, stage 4 is going to be, okay, quick one. If anyone guesses what stage 4 is, I will give you a one-on-one session. You can't make decisions based off a YouTube video. Yeah, literally. Literally, dude. Stage 4. Someone just take a guess. Take a random stab in the dark. That was way too accurate. Sunil, have you seen... Sunil, bro, how did you know that? How'd you guys know this? What the fuck? How'd you guys work this out? That's ridiculous. That's what we're all striving for. Yeah, Sunil and KV, both of you got it. So just both of you just message me after the stream, and then I'll organize you guys a one-on-one. Maybe tomorrow, actually. Maybe we'll do the one-on-one tomorrow. Anyways, it is freedom. Sunil got it like freaking on the dot, bro. He didn't miss the T, bro. He got that. First thing he just types is freedom. So what do we mean by freedom, right? So let's break it down. Let's break it down step by step. Okay. So freedom, specifically financial freedom, right? There's remember, there is no timeline for these goals, right? So you can do this when you're 50, you can do this when you're 30, you can get to stage 4 when you're 90, you can get to stage 4 when you're 28. It doesn't really matter. There is no timeline. Do not compare yourself to someone else, okay? That's just important to understand. I needed to say that out loud, okay? And the second thing we have here is quality of life trumps costs. Okay, so quality of life trumps costs. So for example, what do I mean by that? It's whatever you see as important to you, or whatever you see as important in life, you don't have to worry about how much it costs. You can just afford it, right? Like putting it under consideration that you don't want a freaking Lamborghini that costs $5 million. You know, like putting it into perspective that you actually do not want luxury things. Like quality of life is what I'm saying. It's important to understand quality of life trumps costs. Okay, which means maybe taking your family out for a supper, right? Maybe taking your family out on a vacation that costs no more than $5,000, $7,000. You know what I mean? Yeah. So doing things that benefits you in your life, that brings you mental peace, right? At the freedom stage of life, it's not about living luxuriously. It's about living peacefully, right? Throughout the stages here, it's actually important to understand that every stage has a mental feeling, right? Every stage you are at a specific place mentally. Like stability, before you get to the stability stage, you're probably stressed. You're probably worried. You're probably hurting. You're probably what other emotion is there? You're probably worried. Like you like before you find financial stability, you're probably in your life where you're struggling, you're stressed, everything's overwhelming you, and you are struggling with money, right? So then eventually that leads you to stability, right? Once you have stability, you kind of have a bit more like calmness, right? Then now you're like, okay, cool, now I'm fine. How do I then make this work for me long term, right? Then you get to the strategy part. The strategy part does come with a bit more stress, and you're like kind of worried, like, oh, is this going to work? Oh, fuck, will I do good? What is this going to do? How is it? How much is it going to make? You're still a bit worried, but you're less worried than before because your debt is paid off, right? Your debt and your bills are paid. You are now saving money, right? Now the strategy comes in, like, oh, what? How do I use my money, right? Once you get there, you find security. Security is where you start thinking, you know what? I've I'm doing good. Like I'm making everything work for me. I'm making life my little bitch. I'm starting to win in life. You know, that's where security is. And when you get to freedom, this is absolute peace of mind. Absolute peace of mind that money is no longer a problem. You no longer have to work the rat race that everyone else is working. You're absolutely free of all worries. Your kids are like out of the house, or even if they're still in the house, doesn't really matter. But like you're kind of at a point in your life where you're like, I'm retired. I am kind of looking to be going into the final stages of my life. You know, like for me personally, I'm 22, turning 23 in about a week. And if I get to stability, like I haven't even started stability yet. Like, for example, like I haven't bought a house yet, so I can't even start with this. So like that, like you understand what I'm saying? Like I don't have any mortgage to pay. So therefore, like number one is like out of the question for me. It's like not even a possibility yet. Like I'll use this entire diagram when I'm like 28, when I like buy my first apartment or buy my first house, or pay it off in cash or whatnot. Then I'll only start this entire thing. Do you see how like there's no timeline on it? Whereas, for example, I could go out today and go get a mortgage and buy a house, and then I would start with stability. I would start with stage one, right? It all depends on where you are in life and how far you are. Like, for example, if you're renting an apartment or if you're renting a house, you probably don't need to ever worry about mortgage. Like, you probably don't ever have to worry about that ever because you're renting. You're not paying it off over time, right? You're not locked into a bond with the bank. You know what I mean? So you guys have to take this with a grain of salt, just like a quick grain of salt, that whatever you see, whatever the stage you are in, is subjective to you and only you. When you secure that financial freedom and you have peace of mind, big game change in life. Yeah, literally. That's probably at the point in life where you have like another turnaround. So like for example, I like to see like life is like in stages. So when you turn 18, you have this realization of like kind of who you are. Then at 21, 22, that entire thing just does a 180 and you kind of re-evaluate your life and you kind of look at your life in a different way and you see things differently. Then you get to like your mid 30s, mid 40s, and you have like a midlife crisis, as people say. And then things change again. Your mindset changes, your life changes. And that's normally when people start like getting into financial stability, when they start realizing, oh shit, what am I going to do with my pension? Then they make a strategy, they find security. And then when you turn like 60, 65, 70, then then you find that freedom. Or some people might be earlier, but like some people's like 50, 60, then you find that financial freedom. You know what I mean? In UK, people renting pay so much more than a mortgage, though. I know people whose rent is double my mortgage. I don't know, like it's crazy, dude. Like it's crazy. I think it's also because like, yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, anyways, this is like kind of the session that I wanted to do. The 4 stages of wealth. I'm gonna pop into a real quick weekly breakdown. So let me just stop this recording real quick.